All right, hello everyone, and welcome to a new video. If you're new here, my name is Mohammed. We continue our training and preparation for Elastic Certified Engineer exam. And today topic, we will discuss the ELM for short, or Index Lifecycle Management for time series data, or for time series indices. Right, let's jump to the documentation. And so here, the ELM, or the definition from from Elastic. It's like the ELM is automatically, like, it's a way where you can automatically manage indices according to your performance, resiliency, and retention requirements. In the ELM, what we can do, we can create or set up new index. Right, when we reach a certain limit, we will see in a bit in our lab environment how to, or it will help also to create new indices wherever, like every day, every week, every month, so on and so forth. Also, it will help us to delete the indices, right, and remove it from Elasticsearch or from our cluster. So in other words, it will help you to automatically manage your cluster and or manage your indices. It will help you to move the indices from tier to other tier easily, automatically, without any manual work. If you don't know what's the three-tier architect, I will be discussing in a few seconds the three-tier storage. So if you're comfortable with it, feel free to skip this part. So in time series data, we are interested in the newest data, right? So let's say we are sending logs or metrics from servers in real time, and the newest data is more important. More like the data it's old, less importance is. So that's why we have the three tiers. So we have the hot is the first place when we receive our data from the source, from our servers, from our infrastructure. We receive it here. The hot is known by speed, right? So like here it will be, let's say, a little bit expensive. Like this VM, we need a high CPU, SSD, or a disk as a SSD. So here it will be expensive VMs or expensive tier. Once, like, the data it's old, we still need it, but it's less important than the newest data, right? So we move it to the warm. The warm, it's, let's say, the second tier of the three-tier storage. So the warm, we move it here. We still need it. At time to time, we need to check or send the queries to old data, but it's less important than the hot tier. That's why we move it to the warm. Warm, it's less expensive than the hot. So here we can use, let's say, HDD disk and less CPU, but the response time, for example, here we're talking about milliseconds. Here we're talking about second. Here, if we run a query, the response will be in let's say 10 milliseconds. Here in 2 seconds or 1 second. The same logic, like when it's old, we move it to the cold, right? We will talk about the ELM or the Index Lifecycle Management, but like we move it here to the cold when it's less and less important, right? We still need it, yes, but at time to time we send a query. At time to time we send an aggregation, but not as the hot. That's why it's less expensive than the warm and the hot, right? So here we keep data for a long time, and it will be less expensive. In the other part, the response time will be a little bit late. Here we said milliseconds, here we said few seconds, here even more. Let's say here, if it's 1 second, here it will take 10 milliseconds or more. And then we have two choices, right? If we don't need the data, then we can just remove it directly, right? We delete it from our cluster. Or if we still need it, like we have compliance or we need it for a reason or another, we will store it in a snapshot. Like we take snapshot and we store the data here in a snapshot for a certain period, and then we remove it. Or we store it in the snapshot, then we make sure that the snapshot is or the data here is in the snapshot, then we remove it from our cluster. Right, here in the documentations they mention the retention. So the retention is how long you wanna keep the data in the hot tier, how long in the warm, how long in the cold. Right, so here in our example we said, look, keep it here for 3 days, then move it here to the warm for 7 days, then in the cold 100 days, and you make sure that we take a snapshot, or we took snapshot, and then we delete it. Right, I hope it's clear. Let me know if you have any question. Let's jump to our environment. So to define the ELM, there is 2 ways. Like you can do it from the ELM, or sorry, from the DevTools, or you can click here on Stack Management, and here you have ELM Lifecycle Policy. So by default, we have a few policies, or we have a few ELMs. So if we, for example, open this one, it's predefined. It's come with Elasticsearch. So what it have, for example, here we have the tier, or sorry, we have the hot phase or hot tier, we have the warm, we have the cold, and then we have the delete, right? So here it will stay 2 days in hot, and then it's moved to the warm, and in the warm it's gonna stay 30 days and move to the cold, and the cold will stay the data 180 days, then we remove it, or then we delete it from our Elasticsearch cluster. For sure, we have some other configurations. So the first one, or let's define our own ELM, and then we will talk. So we will call it demo exam. So you name it like based on what they said in the scenario, right? In the exam, you have to respect. So the first phase, it's the hot. So as you can see here, it's the hot, and it's forever. You see, it's like it's keeping this the data in the Elasticsearch forever. Here we have some advanced settings. We will remove it. We will move it. So the first one is when we want to do a rollover, when we want to create a new index. So here, if we leave it like the recommendation or recommended the default settings, it said rollover the index, mean create a new index whenever, like one of the 2 conditions. If it is 30 days old, or the primary shard reach 50 gigabytes. If I, for example, in our exam, it said you roll over, it's after, let's say, 10 gigabytes, and here 1 day, right? So this is an example. So here we have some other settings. If they are asked, or if you have asked in the scenario to, for example, force merge or shrink the index, or make it just read only, then you can apply, or you can enable or disable whatever they ask you to do. Right, then we want to move the data from the hot tier to the warm. How we do it? So here we said after 2 days, right? After 2 days in the hot, move the data to the warm tier. We have for sure some other configurations. So if we want, for example, to set like a replica for this index, or if we want to shrink or force the merge or make it read only, then we can do it here automatically. We have the cold phase, right? Let's say I want to move it from the warm to the cold tier after 10 days, for example. The same, you have some advanced settings that you can enable or disable. Then here we want to delete the data from the cold tier after 100 days, sorry. So here the time, if they ask you about hours or minutes, you can specify it, but usually it's like we use in the days. Now, if we want to do this, or if we want to remove it from the Elasticsearch cluster, but before we want to make sure that we are taking snapshots before we remove the data, right? So how we create a snapshot. So first, if we open this link, right? So we have to create our own snapshot repository. So we did not configure it. So how we do configure the snapshot repository? So we click here, create a repository. So by default, Elastic support a lot of type. Like if you want to take the snapshot on the cloud, or you save the snapshot on S3 bucket, for example, or in Google Storage or Azure, then you can do it. Or in our example, we can do it like locally, right? So we click. So we give it a name first. We say demo exam. We choose next. Here we give the path. So here we have another extra configuration that we need to do. If we open the documentation, you have to where is it? 1 second, let me. Yes, it's here. So you go, if like your environment, if you are working on Windows, then you copy this configuration. If you are in Linux or Mac OS, then you copy this. And what you do, you have to come here to Elasticsearch and you add it, right? You add the path. Like me, I add this path. You add this path, you save the file, and you restart the Elasticsearch cluster or your Elasticsearch node, right? To apply the modification. Then we come here, or we come back to our configuration. We click, or we copy paste the same location, and we click register. Here it's registered. So if we want to verify if the repository is working, you can click here on verify, and it will show you that the repository is connected, and the verification is on. So here, let me refresh, or let's refresh, and let's create again the ELM. So here we said 10 gigabyte or 1 day. Age, do the rollover. The worm, we said it's 2 days, move it to the worm. The cold tier, it's after 10 days in the warm, move it to the cold. And here you click on this icon, like we want to remove it from the Elasticsearch cluster. We don't need to keep it forever, so we want to remove it after 100 days. And here we 1 second, this is a repository. So here let's create the policy, right? So here I will create daily snap, for example, right? The name as well will be daily snap. So I want to take snapshot daily at 1:30 in the morning. What I want to do, I can specify which data that I want to do from here. Next, I will delete it, or I will just keep it like this, and I will create the policy, right? And this is our policy. If I come here again, yes, let me refresh here again. Let's do it again for the last time. So here it's gonna be 10, here is gonna be 1, here is gonna be 2, here is gonna be 10 days, right? And I want to remove it after 100 days. And before I go here, I can see the daily. If I click save, oh yeah, the name of the policy. So here we give it a name, say demo exam, and here we save the policy. Now it's saved. So here demo, here is our ELM. If we want to modify anything, then you can modify it from here directly, and you save the policy. Right? Let me know in the comment section if you have any question. With that being said, I will see you in the next video.